So usually coffee, that's the first thing. And then I usually end up dropping my kids and others, a few other things. And then when I get to work, clearly one of the first things is just to catch up on my email in the morning. And then of course I get to meet, some of the best staff in the whole campus and in the whole world. So I can get to talk to my staff and just kind of get caught up for the day and then move forward. I think clearly I would say that having been selected for this position is something that is the pinnacle of what I've been able to do on campus. So I'm really very proud and humbled for having reached this point. In addition to that, I think having been part of the vision, writing the first white paper, and helping to start the new College of Medicine, the new Carl Illinois College of Medicine, is something I'm very proud of. That was a great experience. It's something our campus really needed, something I was personally very passionate about. So that was certainly a very impactful, I think, experience for me, and I hope for our campus. There's been many people. I think it'll be very hard to single out only one person. I mean, clearly my family, my wife, my kids, my many colleagues, professional colleagues. I have some great friends that I know from my undergraduate, actually, that we went through the same undergrad together, and we still collaborate. One of my best friends, the Mayo Clinic, actually, who was also instrumental in helping our Mayo-Illinois Alliance. I've known him for 30 years, actually. But I think if I was to think of one person that probably had the most impact on my course of life, was actually my dad. So he was really a forward thinker. He sort of encouraged us, and then of course sent me and my brother to the United States when I was 15. So that whole thing about, I mean, I don't know if I would have done that clearly on my own at the time, but he clearly was, I mean, he did things for us, him and my mom, both, so my parents, but he was more of the, I think, the thinker and the planner. And I think the things that they did for me really set the course of our lives. So I think coming to the United States was clearly one of the pivotal moments of my life, so to speak, or the events in my life. And then my son is now 15, and I can't think about, I can't believe, and I can imagine sending him someplace new, someplace different like that. But so my brother and I came to the U.S. when he was 17 and I was 15. So that whole decision and that whole process and guiding us through that, after that was probably a very very important stage of our life, and he was the driving force behind that. So. Yeah, so actually again it was my dad who really encouraged us to just think big, and again, this is, I'll just share that with you. Some of this, you have to say whether you put it in or not, but my dad came to the United States in the 70s. He was in the Pakistan Navy, and he came to the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey to get training. And he just fell in love with everything here, and he says he couldn't come, so he'll send his kids, kind of the typical immigrant kind of story. So he then encouraged my brother and I to consider going to school here. And then long story short, we both ended up here. So he just really sort of encouraged science and engineering, and sort of just thinking different and thinking bigger. And I remember he actually had even got us these really early computers for us when we were in 8th and 9th grade at the time, and to really start to play with and start to program and things like that. So it was always encouraging us to kind of think of the next, think ahead and think forward. So that's what kind of led me to be thinking about science and engineering, essentially. And then my interest in bio-related space developed much later, actually. My PhD is in electrical engineering, and I didn't do any biomedical courses or work till the last semester of my PhD. I went through my PhD pretty fast, and I did nothing but what I was supposed to do. And now I tell students and parents also, which sometimes they don't like that, but the idea that students should look around, students should explore their interest, and you just never know where, just be open to possibilities. So in the last semester of my PhD, I took 2 bioengineering courses, and I really got sort of excited about that area. So then when I went to work for industry, during that time I actually went back and retrained and took a bunch of courses, so the freshman and sophomore courses and labs in biology and chemistry, and retrained. And then when I came back to academia, I started my work, which was integrating electrical engineering and semiconductor devices with biology and medicine. And that sort of became my research direction after that. Right. So that, we can talk about that for a while, right? But I think that is the crux of what, why we are here in general. I mean, I really believe that we are here to make a difference. We're put on this world to make a difference, and I really think that we need to, see what we can do to make the human condition better. And engineering at Illinois has always done that, has done it for so long. There's such a tremendous history. Such a tremendous legacy of world-changing contributions that our faculty, staff, and students, our alums, have been able to accomplish, how they have really literally changed the world when it comes to electronics and computing, and the ELIAC and the Mosaic and PayPal and YouTube and sound on film and so on and so forth. There's just been phenomenal changes. I don't know of any institution that can claim that many and those profound sort of impact on society. So the question is, how do we set ourselves up to continue that? I think that's really what's at stake. But I'm very excited about that. I think we are in a tremendous position to continue that legacy. We have tremendous faculty, and we can talk more about that. But we are just in a great position to really think of the future. So I really hope that we can continue down that path and continue to address the grand challenges that face our world and the nation. So challenges in healthcare, challenges in food and water, reversing climate change, security, peace, the global connectivity using technology. So all of these things are I think, just prime for engineering at Illinois to really work across our campus and our collaborators across the country and really make an impact in these areas. So yeah, I like the beaches of Cancun and also of Hawaii. So those are the 2 sort of favorite places. I don't get to there. To go there as soon as much as I would like, but certainly those are the 2 of my favorite places. We also have a lot of family in California, so we end up usually going to the beaches in California also. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. Captain Marvel is coming next, so I think she's supposed to be really cool. I think the Hulk is I think pretty cool. He's probably one of the smartest. I think he has the most degrees if you look in movies. So I actually find that interesting. And I think clearly Iron Man, I think his suit is just way too cool. So the technology in that suit. So I think between Iron Man and Hulk, and Captain Marvel potentially, because she's I think projected to be really good. So we'll see. I think a lot about that. I think we need to be, I think in all of these areas, in research, in education, in inclusion and diversity and outreach, we need to figure out how we can be the first. And where there's a need to be the first, of course, where there is a need and there's some emerging areas. So we did that with the Carl May College of Medicine. I think if you think about engineering, and I'll give you a sort of a long-winded answer, you can cut some off. Engineering in general, engineering comes from the basic principles of physics. Engineering is a translation of the laws of physics into practice. So the idea that you can forward design. That's the difference between engineering and, let's say, biology and life sciences. Life sciences and biology is actually very complicated. and it's still, a bulk of it is still a discovery science. So in engineering, we have learned the rules already, discovered the rules from physics and chemistry, and then now we can design forward. We can design a circuit, we can design a bridge, we can design a table. But in biology, that is only starting to happen now. The forward design in biology is the field called synthetic biology. So that's only starting to happen, where you can forward design DNA and protein and potentially even cells and tissues. So I think the idea of engineering is really not a discipline per se, but it's just a state of development of a certain discipline. So I think there's tremendous opportunity still with engineering and biology and the idea of forward design with biology. And I think there's even more opportunities when you connect to social sciences now, I think. So the idea of actually connecting with social sciences and more humanistic sciences, and trying to understand and quantify and trying to see how we can again make the human condition better. So I think there's a lot of opportunities with engineering and biological sciences still, and engineering and social sciences is a big open frontier. Within engineering also, we think a lot, and I think a lot about what are the new engineering disciplines. And if you look at it, the last two new engineering disciplines in the last 50 years have really been material science and engineering, and then bioengineering. Material science and engineering was about 50 years ago or so, and bioengineering maybe about 20 to 30 years ago. So the question also is that what is the next such engineering discipline? And I think it would be, coming back to my earlier comments, it would be that engineering and the quantitative sort of way of thinking and measurement and modeling and re-engineering, that approach applied to biological systems and also social sciences and social systems. I think there's some very interesting things in neurosciences. So I think there's opportunities to do things around neurotechnologies and the brain as a frontier. So the brain is one of the most complex systems ever put together. The sensing, imaging, the biology of neuroscience, connecting that to medicine, connecting that to aging, connecting that to psychology, all of that, I believe around the human brain and neurosciences, we really have a big opportunity to do something new working with campus. That's just one example. Yeah, no, I think any of these technologies, I personally believe that we need to absolutely move forward and push things forward while being very, very cognizant and while being aware of the social, ethical, and societal implications of those technologies. But, engage people in broader discussions and see how we can move forward and sort of advance the state of our knowledge and advance the human condition, but be very, very careful, like I said, about the social, societal, and ethical implications of the work. I think the whole space of AI and machine learning is something that is happening. It's going to happen. I would, again, call it not just artificial intelligence, but sort of, augmented, our artificial and augmented intelligence, artificial human intelligence. So the idea that these systems will actually augment. I think at the end of the day, they are not going to take over in any way. But there's no question there's lots of tasks and lots of jobs and lots of functions that could be automated and potentially even be done better. But the question is that as you do that, we are also, as educational institutions and as I think as a country as a whole, we are not very good at forward thinking of that and retraining and starting to plan to retrain the individuals that are going to get impacted with those technologies. So the technology advancements are now happening much more rapidly than ever before. The next generations of technologies are coming faster and faster, and I think we do need to be planning ahead and thinking about how those people who are in those jobs get impacted. So there's no question that there are many jobs that a computer could do better, but there are many others that a computer will never be able to do, or an AI system will never be able to do. So the idea is that how do humans and machines work together? Mm-hmm. How do they work together, and how do they improve the human condition? I think a nice weekend with just relaxing, watching a movie, going out for dinner. If it's close to a beach, even better. If not, that's perfectly fine. And just spending time together. Yeah, that's a long list too, actually. But I think my favorite would probably be Shawshank Redemption. I think that's one of my all-time favorites. There is a similar kind of a story with Count of Monte Cristo that I like that too. And in general, I'm a pretty big movie fan, so we're pretty caught up on recent movies. So all of the Marvel and DC, I really love those movies also. So I love sci-fi very much. So big fan of Star Trek. There's actually multiple ones. This is always one of the challenges is picking one. Yeah. But I mean, in the last certainly many years, I worked very hard on sepsis. So I think that's such a big challenge. There are more people in the US today that die of sepsis than HIV, prostate cancer, and breast cancer combined. It is the largest cost burden to hospitals in the US today. But the awareness for sepsis is not as high, and the fact that it's usually compounded with other diseases. People come in with different conditions and then they end up dying of sepsis. So I think that's something that's really important just overall for a country, for all of us. On a more personal level, I'm very interested in genetic disorders and diseases. My oldest daughter has Down syndrome, and that is something that is a very difficult thing to actually address. But I think just the idea, that's something that really is as more and more advances are made in gene editing and the CRISPR technologies, CRISPR-Cas technologies, how does that affect what we do in that space of early detection and prevention and interventions? How would we handle that? That's a very difficult question. But I'm very interested in sort of keeping up with that space. And I worked in cancer also for a long time. I think cancer is certainly a big cost burden. And all of us know somebody who has been impacted with cancer. So those are the three sort of areas I would say that I hope someday we can address all there is to be addressed in those three areas. So I think one of the best advice, I've been given many advices, I think, and I can probably write about that in terms of multiple, at least 5 or 6 that I can think of. But I think that one of the best ones is, so my mom always used to say that the trees that have the most fruits are closest to the ground. And I think it was always a sense of this humility that if you have capacities and gifts, and you first of all have to return back, but then also keep the humility. So I think this idea of closest to the ground in a way that so I think we are very fortunate. All that we have, I consider it as a gift and as a blessing. And I think the idea that we have to give back and we have to be humble about that. So that's probably one of the things that always keeps with me.
Difference in the world.
Yeah, that's great too. So there's 6 billion people in this world. How are you going to do something different and unique? It doesn't mean that everybody has to do something extremely dramatic or big or impactful in different ways, but the idea that how can we, in our individual way, in our collective way, really make a positive difference, a difference in somebody else's life, a difference in other people around us. So there is, I think the idea of using our intellect, using our education, using the opportunities that are given to us, how can we make others' lives better? The place where I dined the most was probably in my office with Jimmy John's, but that's not. I'm not going to say it's not my favorite place. So I like Co-Fusion is, I think, pretty good. And then on Green Street, there's actually lots of great places. So one of the nice things in town is that there's some really, really great restaurants, and I really enjoy many of them. Yeah. I think collaborations and the people. This is such an amazing place. It's so collaborative. The people are just wonderful. I think we have no barriers to collaboration. So really, at the University of Illinois, I really just enjoy that, working where I can, find the most famous people and the most busy people, but everyone makes the time to talk if you want to talk to them about science, about education, about changing the world. So I think it's this idea of collaboration and working together. At the end of the day, if we can lead the college to continue to be in that path of excellence, and not only just continue, but rather really accelerate that, right, and expand that. So if we can in the future, if we can set the place up now to continue the kind of impact that has been done in the past, if we can continue that in the future, I mean, that's what I like to be able to be known for. That engineering at Illinois, continued on that path and moved even more quicker, faster, and more aggressively to change the world to be a better place.